All right, let's just give people moments to leave. Then, if you want to raise comments on those three questions initially, let's do that for a few minutes. One or two comments, post-prof feedback on the questions. One or two comments. Please raise your hand through the reactions. And I would love this to be a robust conversation of sharing of ideas. Thank you. Anyone? Colin, go for it, Colin. I can see your hand.
Hi, Selwyn. Prof, thank you very much for your insights. Just a comment around the blueprint of well-being. I was listening to you. From my perspective, there is, and it's from what I was hearing from you, Prof, there is, for me, a line of a common area to begin with in terms of managing one's well-being, and that is working within oneself. For example, it is that self-awareness, that self-regulation, learning to realize what you cannot control, what you can control. And you touched on some very important points, I think, that are common. So it's metacognition skills, understanding our, detail, the thoughts in our head, those little saboteurs that can come and tell us stories which are not necessarily true. And we fill the gaps of what we don't know, and especially with uncertainty. So it's learning those skills. And most importantly, it is around values, living by values, because that's where you get a heightened sense of fulfillment. And finally, vision, the personal vision work. I mean, there's a lot more involved, but I feel you've hit the nail on the head in terms of there is a common area that we can begin with. And then once you understand that, then you can go into the specifics within the environment you're educating in. So that's my comments. And I just want to finish off by saying, Prof, I'm a chartered accountant who became an educator. So I did it the other way around. One question I do need to ask, Prof, if I can, or Selwyn, is there a contact that I can make with you guys? Because I've been spending the last 2 years developing an online wellbeing course. So, I'd love to share it with you guys. If we'd subsidize, we'd do whatever. But if we could work with you, if there's an opportunity, I'd love to do that.
Colin, pop your email address to me privately, and then I will make contact.
Great, Selwyn. I will do that. Thank you.
Colin.
Thank you very much, Colin, for your inputs. They are really, really thought-provoking and fruitful.
Thanks, Prof. Thanks very much for yours too. Hey?
Thank you.
Any other comments, questions, insights? Elton. Over to you, Elton, and then Gladys.
Thank you, Selwyn. Thank you, Prof. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, brilliant. I think some of the issues that were alluded to earlier, when teachers especially or staff members become demotivated, is the idea of falling in love with the subject again. And if we can do that, because learners aren't going to learn anything if whoever's teaching them are not themselves in love with the subject. And you could do this in various ways. Just changing up your resources. Look at different things. I think Colin mentioned metacognition. Just your thinking around your thinking about how to go about making things interesting. We focus at our school a lot on differentiation to make sure that you engage. And that also, when you focus on these things, it moves away from the monotony of just planning and just doing what I did last year and the year before. Doing courses on active learning. And it's just those new teaching styles, challenging yourself. Was it Dr. David Malapa that said, if you're not growing, you're dying? And therein lies the challenge. For us to understand, yes, I've been teaching the subject for 25 years, but I've died 10 years ago, 15 years ago. So it's about challenging yourself and doing these new things. And you know what? You'll see the difference in your class. You'll see the difference in how you feel about yourself. So that might be something that could be discussed, colleagues, with the other colleagues at school, and how do we challenge ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you very much for those ideas, Elton. I think they are important, very, very important to share. First of all, to know and to understand, and then to share with your colleagues in the staff room. Very, very important, where you have those kinds of conversations, the conversations that build rather than destroy. And there is something that I wanted to share with, I want to share with you, which I discussed when we had that chat earlier on in those back rooms, where I was saying to the student that was there from the Free State Oliswa, I said to her, especially because she's a young teacher trainee, that it is important for her to understand that before she can go to class, she must think. So thinking then as a skill becomes very important. So she must think. Think about what? Think about the concept that she's going to teach the following day. And obviously prepare for it. For the lesson. During the lesson, she also has a responsibility to think, because learners will be asking questions. And some of those questions may be easy, some may be difficult, but they are important questions. And therefore, she has got a responsibility to respond to them. So she must think. And then, of course, after the end of the lesson, she also has to think or reflect on the lesson. These are just some of the skills that we as school principals have got a responsibility to teach or to refresh our teachers on, because they may have learned them at university, but they've now forgotten about them. But thank you very much, Elton, for sharing your ideas with us.
Wow, thanks so much. Gladys, over to you.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome.
Good afternoon.
I'm also going to ask the same thing. I'm trying to switch on my video. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you loud and
All
clear.
right, I'm still trying. Okay, I'm trying to switch on my video. I'll show my face shortly. But I just want to say thanks to the prof and throw a few questions, maybe 2 or 3. Prof, I'm not a principal. I'm just an educator, life orientation HOD at Tembisa Secondary in Gauteng. It's so sad to see how many teachers, especially the younger ones, are so demotivated, demoralized. And I'm just asking myself, I know I'll be going back tomorrow and sharing some of the things that I got from you. But how do we then go back as the older teachers to bring some, I'm not sure if I could say some vibe into the younger generation? That's the generation I'm worried about in the teaching profession. It looks like they have no vibe at all for teaching. So I'm just thinking, maybe if we come up with ways of saying, this is how we will be motivating them. Okay, there goes my face now. Is there a way that you can help us? And maybe the second thing that I want to ask, are we as teachers supposed to be satisfied with the fact that there's no way how we can earn like the other professions are earning? Because I don't think we could be saying we are just earning enough to make a living. We are gradually becoming lower than making a living. Those are just some of the things I'm grappling with as you were encouraging us. But I just want to say as well, thank you so much. I'm personally reignited after 28 years of teaching. I feel like I want to do it again for the next 28 years after your motivation. after your motivation. Thank you so, so much. And I'm also thinking that I saw a lot of people requesting that you send us the recorded version of this presentation. If we are going to get that, I promise you, I will definitely make sure that the staff members where I am at, they get it, and hoping that they will be reignited like I am today. Thank you very much. That was my input and my questions as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Sis Gladys. I'm not sure what else to say with regard to the issue of demotivation, except to say, let's hear other people here as to what they do in their schools to make sure that their educators remain motivated. I'm tempted to say there are many creative ideas that we can come up with if we put our heads together on how to motivate educators, despite the challenges that they experience, which are many, as you know. So my suggestion perhaps would be, read widely on the notion of motivation. There are many theories out there. Maslow has ideas as well about how people move from the basic level to the highest level of achievement. People like Herzberg, they've also written about motivation and many others. So my view then would be, let's start there, because when we have got theory behind us, we are then able to go to schools and see if this theory works about how in other places people do things, so that we can then, out of those theories, out of that knowledge, we are able to motivate our colleagues. But colleagues, one other thing that I think is important, and I think I have learned and accepted, all of us have got agency role, agency. So you as Gladys and many other colleagues who are on this platform who are occupying different levels, we have a role to play to make sure that our schools succeed. We have a role to play. But let's not focus perhaps on other schools. Let's focus on the few teachers that you see in your school that are demotivated. Perhaps talk to them, find out what is it that is bothering them. In that way, then, we will be able to win this battle one by one. So talk to your colleagues, Sis Gladys, and hear what they have to say with regard to the challenges that they are experiencing. And perhaps try to find out, why are they demotivated? What could be the problem? You may find that perhaps the problem of demotivation is from external, perhaps how the school is led, how the school is managed, the leadership styles of the people that are working at the school, and people are so fed up, but they have got nowhere else to go. And so they are going slowly, if you may put it that way. They come to school, but they do the go slow, and they are not giving their best. Why? Because they are demotivated. Why are they demotivated? Perhaps because of the leadership style in the school. So my suggestion to you would be, find out first what the challenges are, and then work out from there. But if you don't understand the challenges or the context in which these people work, it becomes very difficult to come up with viable, creative solutions to their problems. So I'm going to allow other colleagues here to speak to this to this point because it seems to be an issue, the issue of demotivated teachers. About earnings, teacher earnings, you guys are members of teacher unions. My advice would be put pressure on your leaders to put pressure on the politicians. They are the ones who elect them anyway every 5 years. So put pressure on them to make sure that they give you better salaries. You are professionals, but at the same time, you are workers and employees of the various provincial departments. That would be my advice to you, because other than that, I don't want to say, leave the profession, go somewhere else. Other people love the teaching profession. I'm one of those. I love teaching. Of late, I love seeing other people grow and developing. Hence, I'm in teacher development, but specifically school leadership development. Selwyn?
Thanks, Prof. I'm going to allow Barbara Yates she's got her hand raised. Barbara, over to you for a question.
Thank you very much, Selwyn Sham. Hello, Prof. I won't keep you long. I just thought your presentation was fantastic, and it actually sort of pinpoints exactly what we're trying to do in the Sundays River Valley with our maths and science learners. We find in the valley, across the valley, the high schools, there's very few children that actually do maths and science, and we believe that we need to try and encourage, and we're not putting maths and science on the pedestal. We just believe that it's, if you had to take the stats of what it is and compare it with the rest of South Africa, I'm sure that we are falling way below what the norm is. So what we were thinking of is trying to, either with Outlook, we know that teachers, regardless of the subject they teach, it's a calling in most of the time, and it comes from the heart, and they're passionate about what they do, despite at the moment we're talking that they're demotivated. So we as a foundation are trying to find ways that we can either motivate them through enhancing their skills without undermining them, but maybe helping them, especially in the field of maths and science, so that the children get the benefit, can understand the subject and continue with it in their later education. Now, we're obviously not going to go and tell them we can't, we're not in a position to. So my question to you is, how would we would obviously do like a needs analysis from at the schools, asking them about this topic in terms of what they need to sort of become more passionate, or to be able to get the message across better to the school children. And then the other thing is there a facility either through the Department of Education that we can engage with to embark on this project, or is it something that we do sort of in the private, sort of in the private sector? Thank you. Sorry for it was so long.
Not a problem. Thanks, Barbara. Over to you, Prof.
Thank you. You are correct, ma'am, to say teaching is a calling, and all of us should view teaching as a calling. And besides it being a calling, I also believe it's a noble profession, very noble. And therefore, there are a number of people who are teachers, perhaps who shouldn't be teachers, because they're not passionate about teaching. But unfortunately, they trained and they became teachers. And along the way, they found themselves in the teaching profession. You are correct to say that you will have to do a needs analysis before you do anything. I'm sure when you work closely with people like Selwyn and others, and also you go perhaps to the websites of the provincial departments of education, you will find information that you can use as a foundation to allow you or to give you space to do the kind of work that you are doing in your area, and hence benefit not just the small community where you are right now, but many other people. So that would be my view, to say perhaps talk to other NGOs like the School Leadership Forum and Symphonia. And when we work together, we are likely to achieve more than when we work as individuals. I'm sure the department at a provincial level can find something, or the district directors that we have in the area, they can find ways of accommodating you and the kind of work that you do once you have spoken to them and they are convinced that you are a genuine organization that is worth working with. I think that would be my contribution, Selwyn, as far as this comment or question is concerned.
Thank you, Prof. Just to say, Barbara, I think this is quite a lovely conversation to have in terms of sharing with you the names and of other organizations that actually focus on maths and science and look at how they can promote maths and science, particularly supporting educators in maths and science. So let me have a conversation with you offline and pump you with some of that information. Is that okay?
Perfect. Thank you. Thanks, Prof. Thank you, Selwyn.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Barbara.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to allow Letty just to ask a question in less than a minute, Letty.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. I am Letty. I'm in Johannesburg South. And well, I'm just a young teacher, and I arrived, when I arrived home today, you were towards the end of the presentation. So I just wanted to ask if I will be getting the presentation slides, if possible. I just wanted to check that because I dropped my email in the comment section. So I'm just not sure if I will be getting
You will get it, Letty. You will get it.
You will go about it. Okay, and I just wanted to add something on behalf of the youngsters. I heard my colleague here saying that young teachers are demotivated, and I would partly agree. And it is, well, I just want to add something on behalf of the young ones. Not that I'm defending them or anything, but I've just noted in the 4 years that I've been teaching, I've noticed some things that I think perhaps are the causes of young teachers being more demotivated. When we study, we are told of the policies, we are told about how the schools are run, we are told about leadership roles and management roles. And when we get to the field, we are seeing the opposite. And when we question, we are sometimes told that it is what it is, that's how things are in the field. You know, it's unlike varsity, it's not theory. The practical side of it is rough. There aren't many policies. I haven't seen a policy that actually is with the teachers, but what I've seen is policies that are for the learners. You know, if you try to mold the child, if you're trying to help the child see the direction or take the necessary decisions, make the good decisions, because you feel that, okay, it is your job to shape their future, it is your job to do the right thing and help them see what it is that they need to do for their future to be bright, and just working towards that. It is demotivating to actually find out that they can get away with anything. You are insulted, you are disturbed while teaching, this and this, it's happening and it's all negative. And when you report it, you find out that there isn't much that the management can do actually, because there aren't any policies protecting teachers. So whatever you do it at your own risk. You might be fired at any time. I mean, SACE might be after you at any time. You cannot punish the child. You cannot discipline the child. You just let them do what they want to do and how they want to do it. We see drugs being sold in schools. We see all sort of things, and it is just shocking. At the same time, we are told that there's nothing we can do. I mean, the system is like this. There's no culture in some schools. It's been going on for some years. We are told that, it's been like this, and it's not changing. And at some point, the management is not doing what they're supposed to do. That they themselves are demotivated because they feel like they don't have the power anymore, because of the policies, because of the acts or whatsoever. So it is just those things where you're like, okay, I was so ready to teach. I was so ready to change the world, to change the status quo. But now it's like my hands are tied. So I just need to do my job and go back home. That is what we are told. Just work, deliver information and go home.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Those comments. Prof, last comment from you.
Thank you. Letty, thanks for the courage to speak. I know some people at your age and experience would be hesitant to speak at platforms like this. Yes, there are policies in the department. Yes, there should be policies at schools. And perhaps you have got a role now to play at your school if there are no policies. Again, let me go back to my own experience. When I was a school principal in Durban, in a township of Inanda, I discovered that there were so many practices at the school, but they were not written down as policies. For instance, when there was bereavement in the school, either a teacher or a relative of a teacher had passed on, there was just a practice, but no written policy. Then I said to colleagues, we need to have policies to guide our practices. And then we began to put together a bereavement policy, because I did not want a situation where people behaved as they liked the person who had passed on or the relative of the person that passed on. We had to be guided by a policy. So, Letty, at your school as well, there seems to be challenges, and you seem to be suggesting that you think there are policies, or you were taught at university that there were policies, but you don't see them when you get to schools. My suggestion then would be, you need to identify these problems and then go to management, not as a crowd, but perhaps as an individual, and say to the school principal, Mr. or Madam Principal, do we have this particular policy or a particular policy to address this kind of a problem? For instance, research that I have come across seems to suggest that some of the problems that teachers have in the classroom, they are self-inflicted. How are they self-inflicted? Because they don't have classroom management skills. So when I was still a lecturer at Wits, I used to be invited to speak to students before they went to their for teaching practice or for teaching what we called their teaching experience at Wits. Now, we taught them classroom management skills. Things like learners, before you can teach them, you need to have a classroom code of conduct, a simple thing called a classroom code of conduct. That classroom code of conduct shouldn't have more than 10 points. And you work on that classroom code of conduct with the learners. You don't impose it on them, but you work with the learners to craft that code of conduct. And then you have it on all the 4 walls in the classroom. Whenever somebody is chewing what is called chewing gum, and he or she comes to class, you refer to the code of conduct. So and so, do you mind reading rule number 5 there? It's a rule number 5 that speaks to the chewing of gum in the classroom. Something that you spoke about at the beginning of the year, not as problems cropped up. So the first thing that you do when you get to class is you create a code of conduct for your classroom. Yes, there is a code of conduct for the school, but you begin with a code of conduct for your classroom or for your subject. And so you have a policy to say, in my classroom, this does not happen. And you put your foot down. I taught in townships in Durban. I'm not talking about teaching perhaps in well-organized, disciplined, ex-model schools. I'm talking about townships where we have thugs, but these thugs, they respected our school. They never came and did any nonsense at our school. So the point that I'm making, Letty, is that you have a role to play to create those policies that you think you should have at your school, which you don't have at the moment. And then in conclusion, I want you to go to a good bookshop and look for a book written by a guy called E for egg, R for Ronald, Braithwaite. And the book, the title is called To Say with Love. To Say with Love. I want you to read that book. Perhaps in a month from today, we can have a conversation. Thank you very much.
Wow, I love that suggestion. To serve with love.
Yes.
Braithwaite.